I guess, first of all, tell us how you found out.
I noticed that whenever I would eat or drink, I would have irritation on the side of my tongue. It would be especially irritated when I would drink a beer. Somebody who used to drink beer and was a beer fan, this bothered me. So I had a friend that worked at a dentist's office who was also a personal trainer. I used to be a personal trainer. I asked her, I said, does this look normal to you? I've had this sore for weeks and weeks, and it hasn't healed at all. She looked at it, and she got a real bad look on her face, and she goes, you need that to get looked at soon by an ear, nose, and throat doctor, and they will probably want to do a biopsy. So within 2 days, I was at my ear, nose, and throat doctor, and he did in fact do a biopsy. And they were so concerned they had me go for a PET CT scan that day. They moved everyone in the schedule enough for me to hurry up and go get this done. And then the next week was my birthday, and at my birthday dinner right before we went and sat down, I got the call that it was positive for cancer. So that was my 35th birthday.
So after you learned the news, what was the next step? How did the procedure go from there?
I didn't know all of it that was entailed. So I just kind of knew this was going to be hard. The ear, nose, and throat doctor said this is going to be hard. And I was always kind of like, well, I've always been a stronger and tougher person than the average Joe, so this probably won't be that bad for me. Pretty naive way, but that was the way I hit it, was just head on and not caring. It got real when they said, well, we want to schedule surgery, so what do you want to do? And when my mom was with me, she didn't have a lot of confidence in that ear, nose, and throat doctor, so she went and found the best surgeon around, which was Brian Bell. And I went and saw him, and he agreed. And he said, how about a month? And my mom said, how about next week? She has an odd way of persuading people, and it's not much of a question. She just kind of told him, and he said, oh, okay. And that night, I think, that day, right then, he drew up on my neck. No, we waited. Yeah, and then when I saw him for pre-surgery, that was the next time. And when he drew everything on my neck, that's when everything hit home. And we said, you know, if you don't have a will, you might want to think about it. So I went home and made a video will that night, and that's when everything hit me like a ton of bricks, because it got real serious, real fast.
Yeah, things happen fast. It was one appointment after the other appointment, and we need to do this, and we need to do that, and it just really snowballed. Things happen quickly.
The good thing I will say is that the Providence Cancer System doesn't give you a chance to be fearful or back out. They tell you, come here, we'll see you, come here, we'll see you. So you just do it and take it. And that's all you have to do, really. They take care of a lot, more than you think.
So what kind of things did he draw?
Well, he drew a big target because I had a big piece of lymph node removed. I had half of my tongue taken out, and it wasn't laterally half. It was laterally a third, and then down another section to make up a half. So it was a little bit of the side and a lot of the bottom. And then he had to take a piece out of my arm with a vein to reconstruct that section of my tongue. I had a tracheotomy put in so I could breathe. And then the partial neck dissection so they could get inside and take the lymph node out. You're halfway beheaded. So they cut me from behind my ear through the voice box, and that's all the way through. It's not an incision. So you're chipped open like a Pez dispenser.
And then
oh yeah, and then they took a piece off my thigh to cover the piece from my arm. And that was a sore approximately the size of half of a dime.
All that for half a dime?
Yes.
Wow.
So people that have these little sores, you can pay attention or go through all that. And my journey didn't stop there.
What happened next?
So I wake up from 12 hours of anesthesia and I'm in the ICU. And that's also scary when you look down and you're full of tubes. and the floor has a drain in it, a large drain, big enough for bits of human to go down it if it has to, and you realize that fast. And it's scary because when you look out in the ICU, you can see all the other rooms because everyone has to be taken care of at one time, and everybody there is at, it's life critical, so everyone there could die at some point. And they came in and they said, well, everything's good, you're doing fine, but you have an IV, an arterial IV. What was that tube in my neck? And it was so moisture could get into your lungs because your mouth and nose provides moisture to your lungs. Your lungs can't handle purely dry air. And they said, since we cut all the way through your neck, you bled down into your lungs. So your lungs have some blood in the bottom of them, and you're going to want to feel like you're going to have to cough. And I have to communicate through writing. So they say, when you feel like you have to cough, go ahead. If you leave the mister in, the blood boogers, if you will come out soft, and you'll be able to cough them out through your trach tube. This mister creates a beeping sound all night long. So, and they come in and check on you every 15 minutes. So after the third day of no sleep, I decided I wanted to take this mister off. So, 1 second.
This is part of the problem. Always have to have water.
So, I took this off. Those boogers got hard in my lungs, and they got into a large mass. So when I coughed, this very solid piece of blood got caught in this tube and I could not breathe. So now I'm hitting the button at 2 in the morning. My mom was asleep, I was asleep.
You can't talk.
I can't talk.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
So imagine waking up and opening your mouth to take a breath, but no air comes down it. And you're trying for air. And now I'm hammering on the button because I'm getting kind of concerned. I wrestled a lot when I was a kid, so I'm used to having my airway constricted under stress. So I knew to calm down, I would save the air that I did have in my lungs. So he comes in and I'm writing in very large letters, you need to hurry because I've been trying to breathe for approximately 25 seconds. And my heart rate is still high because I am freaking out. And he goes, okay. And he's moving very slowly. So I write even bigger, you need to hurry. And there's some,
Hurry.
Were you awake at this point?
oh yeah.
Yeah. I
And
was
there-
out getting nurses and.
Yeah. So he's trying to hurry and he tells me if I hurry, I'll make a mistake and you don't want that. So I just have to hold on and slowly feel my lungs start to burn because I'm basically holding my breath now for about a minute and something. And veins are starting to come out in my head. I can feel my eyes starting to beat. He finally gets they basically take a tube hooked up to a small vacuum, run it down the hole. They pull the trach out first, so it's just an exposed hole. They run the tube all the way down into your lungs, and then they hit the button on this vacuum.
And it sucks everything
And it pulls
out.
it out. But the secondary part is a vacuum inside of your lungs. When a vacuum is created, it slams your lungs shut. So I was basically just doubled over instantly because all the space in your lungs is gone. So it's basically you're just no air. And then all of a sudden, it's like a cork comes out and all the air rushes back in. So you subconsciously just take this giant breath of air and yeah, you go from real bad to okay, real fast, but.
And it didn't just happen one time. This was all throughout the day, all throughout the night, constantly having to suction out the drying blood and all the other fluids that collect in your lungs.
But when I was asleep, I left that thing off for a long time because I wanted to sleep after 3 days. And that's the other thing. If people have to go through this, you will go a week or better with no sleep. And then if you go do chemo and radiation, you will go through weeks, plural, of no sleep because you are so sick.
Wow.
And in the hospital, there's a lot of nurses in and out all day, all night long, especially in ICU. There's always people in and out,
So
throughout the day.
you get weird hallucinations. You're under massive amounts of painkiller and you do see things, you do hear things. I mean, if your painkiller is too strong, Dilaudid was one they gave to me, and it was far too strong. I had like an 8-hour nightmare. I couldn't tell reality from what wasn't real and what was real. So all these things that they don't tell you about, it's not anything. If you could get a cancer screening instead of do this, just saying.
Yeah, because the fix when cancer is small is just like any other cancers. It could be an outpatient biopsy situation. The longer you let these things go, the more difficult, harder, the longer the treatment is.
Right.
So the screenings are of the utmost importance.
And you can tell, like, I have emotion about this stuff when I talk, because it was a battle. It was. And when I'm in that mindset of, no, I'm in a fight, you know, I just am at that, like, it's even hard to talk about and think about, because it was just, you know.
It took everything that you had
Both times.
just to...
And the surgery, I hate to say it, the surgery prepared me for chemo.
So you had the surgery, you were in ICU. How long did it take to recover from all of that?
I was at the hospital. They moved me out of ICU and into a regular bed. So I stayed in the regular room for 4 days. I was there a week. Mm-hmm. And only the last 2 days was I let to sleep a full night. So it was just bursts of sleep for those 5 days. And then after that week, I came home, and I was still taking all my medication and food through a tube. So that's another awesome thing you have to look forward to, is a tube in your nose to eat. And that is sutured to your nose.
Because they don't...
No.
Right.
So when nurses or people come in to hug you or see you or get around your tubes, they grab it and move it, and you're right there, it gets pulled. Bad. So you keep that for another 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. So you're on liquid for 3 weeks. So, and they tell you, before you do all this stuff, eat a lot, pack on as much weight as you can this month.
Were you able to do that?
Luckily, I like to eat, so yeah. But I mean, I've always lifted weights or done some kind of sport all my life, so my appetite is gigantic. For a normal person, who knows?
Let's see, you got up to about 180 pounds before the surgery?
Yeah, I gained about 12 pounds in a month.
Wow.
And I was just everything. Lots of ice cream, lots of milk and cookies, lots of all food, just a lot of it. Calorically dense food. Didn't waste my time with vegetables very much, I have to be honest.
So you were home, you recovered, and then something happened?
Yeah, everything was going good. I went back to being a personal trainer. My life was going back on track. I went back to school. And a friend of mine and I were walking to a class, and I go, man, I feel this weird bump on my neck. It's big. And he looked at it and he goes, oh, that's just muscle tissue rehealing, because now everything's been cut and rehealed. It's not going to form the same. And sounded like a good theory. But I always thought, well, that's kind of odd that would form such a big bump. So I went in and saw my doctor at a scheduled visit, because after you have cancer, you have quarterly visits every 2.5 months for a long time. So this was one of those. Brian Bell looked at this lump and he said, I don't like that. He goes, we can do a little biopsy procedure in like a week, or I can take a very, very large hypodermic needle and take a liquid sample of that lump right now. And I said, we ain't waiting, let's do it now. So he came back with a cylinder approximately as big around as a quarter and probably 7 inches long, and that was just the cylinder. And then the needle, of course, was 3/4 of that length and large gauge, and it had double finger plunger on it. So it was inserted this way, just stabbed straight into it. And then he held my head with his hand, held the syringe with his forefinger and thumb, and pulled a large amount of fluid out of this.
Filled the
Yeah.
tube?
Yeah.
There's that much fluid in there?
Well, it was blood. So, but he said, you know, I'll be able to tell within a week. So I got the call again and he said, bad news. There's another tumor in there. I want you to go get a scan today. More water.
Talking is hard. It takes a lot of work.
So, went and got the scan, went back to him the very next week, and he said, this time it's 2 tumors. They're side by side. They grew in the pathway between your tongue and to your lymph node. It's a good thing we took that large section of lymph node out, because if it would have scattered into your lymph system, that is a whole new level of bad. And lymphatic cancer, it's very bad. You don't live from it usually. So, went back into surgery again. Another radical neck dissection. Hit me open again, took those tumors out, took all the lymph tissue out of my neck. Sewed me, well, they don't use sutures, they use staples, so you get stapled shut, which looks pretty awesome. And then they said in a month.
It doesn't look awesome. It looks awful. I'll just say
Your
that.
mom will say it looks bad. You will think it looks awesome. And then by that time, the first time they gave me the option of doing chemo and radiation, and I said no, because I didn't want to put my body through that. They straight out tell you, this is the atomic bomb of medicine. It kills all the cells in your body, all the white, all the red, all the cancer too, but a cold will kill you. So I was like, I think I'd rather skip that. Let's just see what surgery can do. In hindsight, I don't know. But I had to go through chemo and radiation. So I packed on a whole bunch of weight again. And then when I started, you know, they tell you through the whole thing, the effects will happen over time, because the radiation, gamma rays, that's how they work. You accumulate that. So the first week wasn't too bad. I had a chemo dose, and you have radiation every day. So every day you wake up, or whenever you schedule it, and you have to go and be strapped down onto a table for a half an hour and get hit with gamma rays for a half an hour. And by strapped down, I mean they strap you down. They make a mold of your body from your upper chest all the way over your head that's made out of mesh plastic. That piece of plastic has bolts every 6 inches that goes all the way around your head and shoulders. So when you lay down on the stainless steel table, they bolt you down. And you can see out through the mesh, but you're bolted down. Can't move, because they don't want to miss with that stuff. And the first week goes by not too bad. They give you a lot of drugs to keep you from throwing up all the time, but it doesn't. There's still this constant feeling of like, if I let my concentration slip, I'll probably throw up. And the times that I did let myself get too relaxed, I did. So you can't really get around that part. And then after a week, the burning starts to come. And the burning does not stop. It just gets worse for the next month and a half. So you slowly go from being able to taste food to everything tastes like sawdust and baking soda. Everything. Water. The most flavorful foods you can think of, you don't have that taste anymore, because the radiation burns your taste buds out. Your throat constantly tries to produce a scab to heal itself. This scab liquid, I can't say it's a saliva because it's much thicker and stringier than that. That gets so bad that you can't sleep. Every time you breathe in, you choke on it. So you're constantly hacking this up. I had a small dentist vacuum that I was just basically vacuuming my